nature's eyes. Ooh, come save your child. Come save your child. I say come sisters. Come and take back your child. This great.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to all of you on this Thursday evening. Welcome to GeesBeeCee, the Women with Words show. We're here this evening. Please invite someone. Make sure you invite your husband, your side piece, your side squeeze, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, somebody you like, somebody you used to like. Invite them. We're going to have a good show today. Very good show. We have two very important women in our society, and I'm excited to have them here. But of course, my name is Glendy Jane Juniors, and I am here. All of my other crew members are somewhere doing something, taking care of some stuff. But we miss them, and we hope that they're all doing well. We'll continue to be here and to encourage you. So share this show wherever you can for us. As we end Black History Month, I hope I represent a Black woman, an African woman, a West African woman, and I hope that I can also share in the Black history. So there are some fun facts, some serious facts about Black history that I wanted to share. I don't know if I can do all 29, but just a few of them I wanted to share. And there are three Black people that I don't want to say idolize, but I like because of their poeticness and because of who they are. So we'll talk about them shortly. But let me just give you some fun facts. In 1878, let me go first to the reason why they chose it to be in, why they celebrate Black History Month in February. And from what I'm reading, this is Google, not me. And it says Dr. Carter G. Woodson was the father. Dr. Carter G. Woodson was the father of Black history. He started it. He was the son of a formerly enslaved parents and a Harvard scholar. He also founded the Modern Day Association for the Study of African American Life and History in 1915. It said, and so at that time, the second week of February at that time was chosen. But it coincided with the birthday of President Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. So they expanded it, and then it became the entire month. Now, let me tell you something. You see how I'm taking my time to read it here? Because one of these women coming on here tonight she does not like to be referred to as a historian, but this woman can check facts on history. Hey, so I'm taking my late time to talk my late thing. That's why I say it from Google. So if she should check it later and find out that was not true, she will just blame Google and not me. So let me just give that, how they can say caveat. Let me just put a disclaimer out there first that this is what I'm reading. Also in 1878, the first Black musician to sing at the White House was Mary Sequila Williams. That's history. I didn't know that. In 1890, George Washington Johnson was the first Black recording artist in the United States of America. I wanted to say University of Liberia. Can you imagine? In 1939, Ethel Waters is the first Black performer to appear on the American TV show. You know, as I'm reading this, I'm thinking, it's like, why are they relating all of this to artistry? Why are they relating it to the fact that they even went to visit the White House or they sang? Is that the only thing Black people could do in that time? They could only sing, okay, they could act in movie, nothing else. But nobody say, okay, the first person that maybe discovered the moon, something like that. But they're now talking about these people. In 1940, Hattie McDaniel is the first Black actor to win an Oscar. All of these historical facts are facts related to being a musician. In 1948, Gordon Parks, she was hired as the first Black staff photographer at Life magazine. What I like about this history, I think maybe I kind of did it intentionally, because all of my history, they are mostly women than men. All of my historical facts are women and not men. So let me read at least three more of this, just celebrating. In 1968, Sidney Poitier, and we can identify with Sidney Poitier. We know of him. Is became the number one box office star in the U.S. in 1968. Sidney Poitier, we know him. We've seen his work. In 2021, Amanda Gorman is the youngest inaugural poet in the United States history. Yes. So that's a little bit about some historical facts about Black History Month. Somebody said to me one time, Black History, is it only celebrated in America? I said, well, and is it only celebrated by Black Americans? I said, well, take my answer. I'm Black. So I'm celebrating Black History Month. I automatically become a part of that. But there are three people I want to share their pictures just to signify they may not be people that established it, but these are people that have resonated with Black people for the things that they've done. I want to start with Martin Luther King Jr. We all know MLK. A lot of people idolize him. A lot of people continue to want to follow in his footsteps, but I don't know if there's ever been another Martin Luther King. Next one is Harriet Tubman. We all know about her and all that she's done to Black history and what she reminds us now. The last one, who happens to be my favorite, is may not be a historian, may not be anybody that contributed to Black history as it relates to celebrating Black History Month, but it's someone that I idolize because of a mind game, and that will be Maya Angelou. I love Maya Angelou. Love her mind. Maya Angelou was born on April 4th, 1928, and she died on May 28th, 2014. And so I love Maya Angelou because I think her poetry was something that has continued to resonate with us. There's one of her poems that I really like, and it's the one with the bird. I know why the caged bird sings, and I'm going to read that. I was privileged to have met Maya Angelou I think on campus in Cottonton, I believe. But we did a lot of her poetry in literature. So let the caged birds, I know why the caged bird sings. The free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream to the current ends and dips his wings in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that sucks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he's opened his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with fearful thrill of the things unknown but long for still, and his tune is heard on a distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trail winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. But a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but long for still, and his tune is heard on a distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. Maya Angelou. It is in her footsteps that I try to even do poetry. But I'm not even near what Maya Angelou has done. I want to welcome all of you to our show this evening. I'm going to bring our guests on. I have two, like I said, two very important women here this evening. We're going to be talking about women issue, young girls. I want you to follow along. I want you to ask questions. We have this tonight. We're going to break it into 4 segments. The first one, we're going to talk about self-esteem, self-image, and self-worth, all related to women and womanhood. The second one, we're going to talk about setting boundaries for ourselves, assertiveness and boundary setting. The third segment is going to be challenges and resilience. And lastly, is after we've been able to overcome all of our challenges and become a resilient person, we as women, we want to be able to empower one another. Let me welcome our guests. Welcome, Enid-Mai, and welcome, Kau. Woo! Hello.
Hello. Hello.
How you doing?
Beautiful.
Yes, it is so good to have the two of you here this evening. Welcome to GeesBeeCee. This is home for Enid-Mai. Kau, I want to welcome you. It's a pleasure to have you and to be able to have the opportunity to talk to two of you. So I'm gonna let Kau is the guest, Enid-Mai. I'm gonna let Kau introduce herself and tell us a little bit about who she is.
Oh gosh, I don't usually talk about myself. I usually talk about people that have long left the world. But I'm Kau Fambula, Mrs. Kau Fambula, and happily married, mother of 4, auntie of hundreds. And what am I? Besides a mother and a wife, I I'm a lifelong student of African world history. It's been a passion of mine since I was a child. I'm an archival researcher as a hobby. Though I'm trained in it, I just do it as a hobby because it's my passion. And I am also a financial professional, and I'm also a public policy professional. So I do public policy consultancy work for the state of Georgia, and I also work for a financial institution here in Georgia. So lots of things to keep me very, very busy. And I also am the host of the Liberian History Channel. So please watch that. And I am a volunteer um, and many other things. So I'll stop.
All right, Enid-Mai, for those who have not met you or heard about you or know you, please give some intro about who you are.
Well, I am Enid-Mai Jones King. Of course, I keep my name as my professional name. Professionally, I am Enid-Mai Jones. I am a Liberian. I have 25 years of experience in association management. That is my career, and is usually in the line of developing professional education for whatever industry I'm working within. So I am married to Mr. Charles Ebel King. I have one daughter, and I have 9 brothers.
Wow.
And I had one sister. Unfortunately, she passed away from breast cancer. So it was just the 2 of us girls to all those boys.
Mm-hmm.
So that's me.
All righty. So we're all here. We're all Liberian women outside of Liberia. It's an amazing thing. I want us to start our conversation tonight. We can talk. The conversation for our audience will be about women as a whole. but there would be some cultural aspect that we were related to Liberian women because, of course, that's where we're from. I wanted to first ask Kau, before we start into our conversation, what was growing up like as a young girl in Liberia?
So I didn't grow up in Liberia.
Okay, wherever you grew up now.
Yeah, so I wasn't born in Liberia and I didn't grow up in Liberia. But I grew up in a Liberian community,
Okay.
one of the most established and oldest communities, which is the Liberian community in Minnesota. So
Oh,
those of us who were born in the 70s and 80s um, grew up together. It was a beautiful childhood. I grew up in a community with Liberians of various backgrounds, many of whom had come to the United States to further their educations. People may not know this, but many of the people who worked at Bong Mines and Lamco went to Dunwoody Industrial Institute in Minnesota. My parents, also went to school in Minnesota, Hamlin University, McAllister College, and other schools. But I grew up in a community of Liberians where they were very educated. I grew up with Liberian engineers and doctors and professionals, and before the war, and then those people were very instrumental in activism when the war started in trying to work with Congress to have refugees repatriated to the United States. So that's some of the reason there's so many Liberians in Minnesota, is because you had this high concentration of educated Liberians who then became advocates. So at a very early age, I was involved in activism for Liberia while I was in middle school, really, junior high school, and then went on to high school in the University of Minnesota, where I was a student leader. Um, it just, I would say I had the most amazing childhood that I could have ever asked for. I don't have any complaints except, the regular trauma that many Liberian young people go through. I lost my father to violence in Liberia. And that kind of shaped my life just as much as all of the good things did. The loss of my father also shaped the way that I would live my life and what I would dedicate my time to. So that's it. I grew up eating. I'll tell you one funny quick story. I grew up thinking that spinach was Liberian food because when I was a kid, because when I was a kid, we didn't have potato greens, and I didn't know that my mother was substituting potato greens for spinach. I didn't know. I thought spinach was Liberian food, literally. And so I always like, "What's your favorite green?" Spinach, and people would be looking at me sideways. I didn't know why. So when I finally went to Liberia as an adult, and my mom's cook said, "Oh, what would you like for dinner tomorrow? I'll be going to the market soon in the morning." And I said, "I want spinach." And she looked at me like I was crazy because that's one of the side effects of growing up in Minnesota in a Liberian community. We thought
yeah.
spinach was a Liberian green.
Yeah. Enid-Mai,
So,
growing up in Liberia.
Um, so Quite basically was talking about this intersectionality that a lot of experience.
Yes.
I grew up in a family. My grandfather was a lawyer. Both of my grandfathers were lawyers. My father's father was senator from Grand Cape County, and president pro tem of the Liberian Senate for like 35 years. My father was a lawyer. So I have three brothers who are lawyers and two nieces who are lawyers. So I decided I'm not going to be a lawyer. Too many lawyers.
I know.
But my siblings and I were talking the other day that we grew up in a real, not a typical Liberian household. We were raised to have voices, to express ourselves. In fact, being in my house on a Sunday was like a war zone because everybody wanted to be heard. So we basically were screaming over each other, and I, being the youngest, I would stand on the dining room chair to get my voice, with all these men. And my father raised my sister and I differently. My sister was
Mm.
girly, girly. So she was raised girly, girly. And I was the typical tomboy. So he basically raised me like he raised his sons. So and 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 he got a kick really out of the fact that I spoke my mind. And I always tell people the story of my first date with my father was at 12 years old, and he took me to see the movie All the President's Men. Who takes that 12-year-old daughter
I
to
just see
see
that.
All the President's Men? I didn't even understand what was going
Oh,
on, But just the fact that I was going out with my father, and we saw the movie, and he had made me read some of the stories in Time magazine. But I'm one of those people who came to America to go to college. And of course, with the war and everything else, you get stuck here. But um, the maturity of a group of us with between the ages, I think, of 50 and 65, we matured in America and became professional women in America. So that intersectionality really do um, play a whole part in how we straddle two different cultures, the American culture and the Liberian culture, and how it influences how
Yeah.
we we think.
okay. So let me just say a little bit about me, just to be a part of this conversation. When you're talking about intersectionalism or intersectionality, I was born onto my parents. My father was the only boy with six
Mm.
girls, and my mother was the only girl with, I believe, six boys. And so my mother was my dad's high school sweetheart from BWI,
Oh,
and in 12th grade she became pregnant with me. So I was a love child. I was spoiled rotten. I think I'm still spoiled. My father didn't have any boys, not that we know of yet, even after he has passed. And so I was like the boy for him, but I was the girl for my mother. So everywhere he went, he took me. Everybody knew my name. I was telling somebody the other day, my nickname is Piggy. And they were saying, why did they give you Piggy? So when I was born in Lamco Hospital in Buchanan. And the nurse at the time, I weighed 13 pounds.
oh
And I was
wow.
just too big. I was huge. My head, of course, weighed a lot of that part. And so they named me Piggy. But growing up with two young, my dad was in LU at the time. I think he was a junior or senior, and my mother was in her 12th grade at BWI. Growing up with them, I was so spoiled. I had so many people to do so many things for me. And so I think that has triggered to me leaving that aspect, always relying on my parents, always relying on them being there. That is sometimes is it has shaped me the way I am, that I do that with even my kids now. That I dread when they leave me, when they plan to leave. I'm an empty nester already, but they haven't left. So my kids are all young adults. They can leave at any point in time. But it's like whatever I learned from my parents, how they treated me is how I think I see myself. Even though my kids are young, I still have some form of protection over them that I dread when they're going to leave. And I think that plays a part in my growing up. I also was a loved grandchild. My grandmother spoiled me rotten. I learned everything from her, to sew, to cook, to bake, everything from her. But I think our childhood now, those are things that we saw. And to some degree, I think there's a difference with what the kids are now seeing in Liberia because of what it has been. So it's going to lead us to the topic, because growing up where you have parents that could provide everything you needed for you, help a lot to promote your self-esteem and your self-image. So that's what I want us to talk about as a young woman. Let's talk a little bit about self-esteem, self-image, and self-worth. How important those three together. I mean, I think they work together, but we want to
Yeah.
see how important those three things are for a young woman or for a woman, because even adult women in adulthood have trouble with these three things. And more or less the young girls, what would they have? So let's start with you, Kau, and then we can, and certainly we all can chime in with questions if we want this to be
Sure.
as conversational as possible.
I mean, self-esteem is something that, as much as we'd like to say it comes from inside, it's really shaped in your childhood in the way that you're brought up, unfortunately. And, because that puts a lot of control over how you see yourself in the hands of the people who are bringing you up. And if those people do a very bad job of fostering your self-image and your self-worth, you could spend the rest of your life trying to overcome that. And a lot of times for young women, the very first exposure we have to our value comes from our caregivers. I have been extremely fortunate. Um, Being born in a place where, at the time when I was born, though I was in a Liberian cocoon, a little Liberian community in Minnesota. I was in a very white state. Minnesota is still a very, very white state with all of the diversity that's happened over the years. When I was born, I was literally the first Black child born at the hospital that I was born in. Think about that. This is how extremely, I mean, this is America. Black people have been here since 1619, but I was the first Black child born at my hospital. And for me, growing up, I never felt like I needed to compensate for being very, very dark skinned in a pool of peace Scandinavian children. It made me feel important. Instead of it making me shrink, it made me feel important. And I never really understood that that was not supposed to happen until I got older. And I realized interacting with other people, they were compelled to relax their hair and bleach their skin and do all these things. And I always wondered, why? And it stems back to my stepmother, my mother, my father, for the short time that I had a father, and all those around me, constantly reassuring me of how incredibly smart I am. Whether I was actually smart or not, they told me I was, and I believed them. Constantly telling me how incredibly beautiful I am, whether I was or not, I believed them. And I accepted it. And that's how I walked and conducted myself. And nobody could take that away from me because it was given to me by those who were nurturing me and nurturing my mind. And that's really where it comes from. I draw my self-worth and my value from my mother, from my stepmother, from my late father, from the caregivers, my aunties. It's extremely important because without a sense of self, without value, without respecting the skin you're in, the form that you're in, you can't respect anything else. You spend the rest of your life trying to correct what you think is wrong and overcompensate. And I was never taught that there was anything wrong with me. So, it makes me a little bit more bold than people expect. I go into certain environments and I don't know my place because nobody ever told me my place. So it becomes offensive. Who that woman think she is? I'm called. What's the problem? So it was, coming up and then going, moving to Liberia and stuff like that. It comes across to people as, because the expectation is for me to cower and to shrink in the presence of other people. And that doesn't happen. And then people take offense. You understand? Yeah. And it took me a very long time to realize that the reason people are offended is because the expectation they have is that I should shrink in their presence, and I don't. I glow and I grow in your presence because that's what human beings should do. They should shine their light. And That's something that I really think is important for women and girls to be raised with that surety of themselves, because we are half of the population. We are half of the solution to our challenges. And if we're made to cower and shrink, and if our self-esteem and self-worth is broken, only half of the solution is going to be available.
Yeah. So before I go to Enid-Mai, I just want to ask you this question. I think this was posted by Sissy. He said, and we're talking about self-esteem, self-image, and self-worth. So I think this question falls in line.
Glennie, before we go to that question,
go ahead.
Let me say something. Everything Kau has said is exactly how I feel and you feel. But I think we will be remiss if we don't specify that women and children are the poorest population in the world.
Yes.
And in addition to that, they are the most vulnerable.
Yes.
The way you and I grew up in Liberia is not how every Liberian woman or girl grows up.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
There's a huge population of girls and women in Liberia who not just today, but has always been vulnerable in our society. And that vulnerability have put them in positions where they have been used by people, by men, and they've been put in position where they have had to use their bodies in order to survive. People need to understand that women and children are the most vulnerable population in the world, and they are the most at risk population. So we do need for people to understand that before we go on, that everybody did not grow up where, my dad used to take us and stand us in front of the mirror, and we were supposed to say, I'm a Jones. I can do anything I want to do. I can do anything. Everybody did not have M. Famula Jones telling them and telling a little girl, because I'm the baby, that she could be anything, and filled her with so much self-esteem that it brought us on cockiness. Because people read it as being cocky. People read, as Kau was saying, people read it as being conceited. And so we need to really look at that fact.
Yes.
Yes. So let me let's ask this question, and then we'll talk to Enid-Mai about her approach as it relates to self-esteem, self-image, and self-worth. This is asking, how appropriate is it for men to define what is appropriate when it comes to women's attire and dress? Enid-Mai, let's start with you.
Don't get me started. It's none of the business. One, I don't tell you how to dress. I don't get involved in, I tell my husband when we're going out, my duty is to say to you that we're going to a formal casual. Now, whether you want to wear red shirt, blue shirt, pink suit, that's your business. I told you where we were going, so you dress appropriately.
Okay.
So men do not, you see, and that is the form of control also, because we come back to what I said. Women being vulnerable, that detecting what a woman wears, how she dresses, how she looks. You can't wear pants to the ministry. What kind of nonsense is that? When I was growing up, you could wear pantsuit to the ministry. You could wear jeans to the ministry. What kind of nonsense is that?
Yeah, I know. Kau,
So don't get me started.
what
Well,
says you, Kau?
I ditto everything that Mrs. King just said. The whole situation of people telling someone what to wear based on their gender is ridiculous. We're human beings. Women are human beings. Men are human beings. Now, sometimes people may have a relationship where maybe the wife is a fashion designer, the husband's a fashion designer. You say, "Oh, honey, put this with this." That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about men thinking that they can define the parameters of what women wear. It's a different conversation because people always say, "Well, what if the man knows what looks good?" No, this is about control. It's about men thinking that they own women's bodies and thinking that the way that to keep the control over your body is to control how you cover it.
Mm.
And that is extremely inappropriate. And so it is taking your mind and your ability to make decisions for yourself and how you want to present yourself to the world and putting it in someone else's hands.
Mhm.
This is
And I
wrong.
like and I like how you say that because I think to some degree there are some women who allow that. And so
Right.
when you allow that, you allow your spouse or your significant other to be the one who determines what you wear, how you dress, and everything. And then when
Yeah.
you get to the place where you want to take it back, where you've already lost that freedom to do
Yeah.
that because they've become used to it. So I think to some degree is it should be a matter of it should be your decision
Yeah.
on what you wear. But like Enid-Mai say, if I tell you say we're supposed to wear red, if you want us to wear red together, you say, okay, I'm wearing red. Would you like to wear red? But I want us to wear red, and I think it's that matter of um stepping over their bounds. And we'll talk about boundaries. I think when we get into boundaries, we'll talk about that. But let's hear Enid-Mai about self-esteem, self-worth, and self-image.
It's really important, particularly that we build our daughters and young girls to have to a surplus amount of self-esteem. It's important because we come back to the same issue of our gender being so vulnerable. You need they need to understand, what are my boundaries? These are my boundaries, and these I can allow you to cross it only by permission, and but I need to protect myself. And so if we teach our girls and build that self-esteem in them, they will become active participants in the society, and they will not have to rely on using their bodies as a way to get ahead. But it also really becomes where we allow women to become educated. We know that's another problem too, of women n- not being educated. I remember growing up in Liberia. If a young girl in high school became unfortunately pregnant at an early age, it was only the young girl who suffered. She got kicked out of school. She got basically ostracized by her friends. She didn't go out. The other parents didn't want their daughters to play with her, be in her company, for because somehow pregnancy that rub off, I guess. But the young boys never suffered. Their lives never changed. They went on to graduate from the high school they were going. That poor girl had to go to night school. So women, again, we are the ones who are placed in these situations to pay the price for whatever it is. So developing self-esteem, developing confidence, developing a sense of self really helps that girl to say no. She finds her voice. she can say no and she can say yes. Now, as we talk, look, people have different dynamics in their relationships, and we will respect their dynamics. If the dynamics is that the husband dictates what it is that you wear, provided that the choice was yours to relinquish that control to him, we respect that because that is your dynamics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we respect that because it was the woman's choice, her choice. She decides, this is how I am going to interact in my marriage. This is how I want my marriage to be. It's her choice. So we cannot say it's right or it's wrong. But what I can say is that even when a woman relinquishes that choice, she still has the power to take it back because it is her choice. When the choice is taken away from her and she's forcibly made to do something, that's when she cannot take it back. And that comes to where you were saying, Glennie, where don't start nothing, you can't stop.
Yeah.
So it
And I think, go ahead.
So it really comes down to choice. Was it my choice? Did I, as a grown individual, decide to relinquish that choice?
So I want to emphasize that point because we already have some of our audience talking about the question about whether the man making the decision what a woman can wear. I think that the point is, if the woman decides that her husband is the one to say, I want you to wear this and I want you to wear that, then that's fine. But it shouldn't be the man's decision to say, I'm going to be the one to choose what you're going to wear. And without that woman having any impact or any decision in it, I think that discussion should be something of a team approach. Honey, I want you to wear pink today. And then she says, no, I want to wear yellow. He said, no, I want you to wear pink. I think it should be a matter of choice where the two of them are participating in. And we're not experts. I mean, we're not saying what we're saying. We're just saying as we see it, this is how it works for our audience so that they understand our perspective from it. We may not be experts with what we're sharing, but we have experiences and we can only share based on our experience. So I want to welcome all of you who are just joining us. You're watching GeesBeeCee Women with Words show. This evening we have Mrs. Kau. I'm like, you know what I like about Kau when she introduced herself? She said, I'm very happily married. And I don't want to tell you about Miss King over there, Miss Enid-Mai King Jones, Jones King. She is also very happily married, and they are both sitting here with very happily single Wendy.
And again, it's your choice.
It's a matter of
choice thing. Because,
yes,
hey, I was married before and I got divorced, and it was my choice.
Yes.
To get divorced, it was my choice to stay single, and again, it's my choice to remarry. My choice.
So he's saying, let's look at this question again. He's saying my question was more about society's largely male, their definition of appropriate attire for the women is like how they define it now. I get his point. So if a woman decides to want to wear tank top, I think the question is, should a man decide and say that tank top you're wearing is wrong? I hope that's what he said. Not particularly those in relationship. Like if somebody can just see you and say, "Oh, that thing she has on is incorrect." I still don't think that's his place.
It's still not his place.
Yes,
it's on her. And let me correct that person. There are more women on the face of this earth than there are men. So women makes up majority of the population.
Yeah. Anything to add?
Actually, that's not actually. Anyway, I'll wait. I'll come in about the population thing.
Talk about that.
So the population, the population pyramid shows, and in science really shows something very remarkable, which is that the proportion of male to female, the ratio, the sex ratio is almost exactly the same at birth.
At birth.
And it remains that way, except for in rare circumstances with some catastrophic event, like, some kind of war where all the men die. But right now, there's slightly more men than women in Liberia.
I can see that.
And there's really, I mean, statistically, it's about equal globally, but there's slightly more men than women in the world as well. Slightly more. It's really quite beautiful when you look at the numbers. And scientifically, the sex ratio corrects itself. So this concept of people, because we're all raised being told women plenty, it is part of that patriarchy trying to make it look like the male gender is special. It is not. If one family has 6 boys, there's a family somewhere else with 6 girls.
True.
And don't take my word for it. Look this up. I mean, you can look up all kinds of statistical data on sex ratios online. It's free. Just Google it and see what different databases pop up. But it's really important that we all were raised believing this. It's because we grew up in a patriarchy and the men have to feel special. There's some truth to it historically. If you go back to ancient times when we were all barbarians and, they would go in and kill all the men and wife all the women, right? In those circumstances with like Genghis Khan and Samora Toure, kill all the men and wife all the women, these great warrior kings. Yes, in those cases, yes, the women outnumbered the men because they were all killed. But that doesn't mean that it's natural, it's normal, and it's this condition that we live in 2024.
Okay. All right.
And so so just look that up. Just don't take my word for it. Because when I said it once, I did a post about it once. Everybody tried to jump down my throat. I said, but I'm not making this stuff up. The information's out there. Here it is. Here's some links. Research it. And so, but I really do believe it comes from this need for the male gender to feel special or feel like, there's something rare and unusual about being a man, and it really isn't.
No,
there's really nothing to it. It's still a woman's word, not a man's word.
So there's a balance. There's a balance in the sex ratio. Mm-hmm.
There's a balance in the sex ratio, but unfortunately, in this American society we live in now, there are more educated women in college are more than men.
Yes.
So you have now where there's a swing on more women going through college than there are men, and there are more Black women going through college than are Black men. So that's where you find a disproportion when our young girls go to college and they say it's hard to meet young Black men. But
that's a very good point.
We're digressing.
No, I don't think it's digression. I mean, I don't know, but I think that's important, that point you made, because when you reach a certain level,
yes,
your peers of the male gender, that number has dwindled.
Yes,
this is very true, and thank you for making that point.
And particularly male gender of your race, of the Black race, has dwindled.
All right. So statistically, we are learning a lot tonight that there are more young women going to college than men. So men, you're trying to go to school, my people. Anyway, next question. What influence or impact does a healthy presence of a father in the life of a daughter have on future self-worth, self-care, and self-esteem?
That one heavy.
It is. It's a heavy one, but it's heavy.
So I'm not a psychologist, but I'm going to speak from the perspective of so I only had my father when I was a young child. He was a wonderful father to me. I thought he was invincible. I thought he was the superhero. I thought my father could do anything. I thought he was a superhuman. And I think girls grow up thinking this way of their fathers.
Yes.
And he was violently ripped out of our lives. So what happens to me is that the memory of him, which is very, very real, now it becomes the ideal for what I see men must live up to. So having a strong male figure for a young woman sets a bar very high for any man that's going to interact with her.
Hmm.
You understand? And so even though I had my father at a very young age, and then I have my brother, all this kind of stuff, and he's just like my dad, just very responsible, it put a lot of pressure on guys that I would date or even be friends with, right? Because it's like, what's the matter with you?
Yeah,
And why are
right.
you whining about this? Why are you complaining? Like,
Yes.
So
Yes.
it is very important because that helps to shape, the standard that women set for the men that they interact with.
Yes.
Which is ex- extremely true, because I tell my nieces all the time, be careful, because your father's shoes are so big that it's going to be a hard time, because I'm speaking from experience. I thought my father was God. And
Mm-hmm.
don't get me wrong, the man had his flaws, because he was the typical Nigerian man. He had his flaws. But we're not talking about him as a husband. We're talking about him as a father.
Yeah.
As a father, we thought he was God.
Mm.
And so finding a man to fill those shoes, in fact, the problem became even worse, because not only did I have my father, I had 7 brothers who I also thought were bigger than life. So how do you find it's almost like, what do I need you for? When I have all of this here.
Mhm.
So you have to bring extra in order to retain my interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to bring something more, because for me, I'm relying, what I need from you is different, because if I broke, I can go over here. If I need something, I can go over here. So you need to come with something. You need to feel ready, feed my soul.
Yeah.
That is where you need to place that.
I think for me, I would say, as I look back now and look at the relationship my dad and I had, I think it plays a significant role on me now that I'm single.
Mm.
I think when you have a partner, you always you to some degree are a bit selfish, because you want to see your dad in them, not in everything, but in some aspects of it. To say, oh, the character, the way he treats me, and all of that, he loves me. Uh, um, I didn't have that, but as I'm now single, I can look back at the fact that I had that in my dad, and that
Mm.
consoles me, that yes, you mean you don't need this type of love, you don't need to depend on this, or you don't need to query or to long after this, because you grew up with love. So that's how sometimes it's comforting to know that. And I'll say to one or two people I talk to, and I'll say, I wish I would have a man who would love me like my father. That's an impossibility. I'm not going to have that. But at least some form of it. But it's comforting to know that I had my father who really loved me and taught me to be able to love myself and to understand my self-worth without needing someone else to be able to promote that self-worth and self-image in me. One quick question I wanted to ask, should anyone have control of your self-worth? Should anybody, should you give that, should you relinquish that to anyone? Is like, and feel that you're not worthy, or you have no self-worth because you don't have that person? Should anyone have that much power, control of your self-worth?
Absolutely not, and especially when you're an adult. The answers to these questions change when you're a child, right?
Yes.
But as an adult, this is what adulthood is. It's taking control of your life and being a self-determinant person. And you cannot have self-determination if someone else is controlling your view of yourself. If you're defining yourself through the eyes of other people, you're not in control of your life. And so the lens that you see yourself through and your life through and your future through and your past through should be your own, not someone else's. I mean, it's really that simple. You should see the world through your own eyes.
Yes.
And yourself, of course.
But as we know, we carry baggages along with us.
Yes.
So we do carry those baggages that events that may shape us as children. We carry those baggages. So it's becoming an adult and understanding that we all come with baggage. How do I get rid of my baggage? Those baggages that interferes with my growth. It's very important, because when you don't, and that's when it leads down to abuse and everything else, because we drag those baggages, those things, of people diminishing us as children. We say finding love in all the wrong places because you probably didn't find it at home. You or somebody within your close knit family destroyed that sense of security, that you had as a child. And so you carry those baggages into adulthood, and we need to recognize that we do carry those baggages. And when you recognize that, and you get rid of them, then you can fulfill your whatever your destiny, or actually come into your own. But it's important to understand that, look, we all come with something.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So let's ask this question before we move to our next segment that talks about assertiveness and boundary setting. There's a question here that says, what are the effects or the role of the government as it relates to building the family structure? How can a person reinforce self-esteem within his or her household if economic needs are not being met?
Well, I don't believe it's the government's place to determine the family structure. Now, let me say though, that particularly where women are concerned too, I guess whether it's men or women, it's the government's duty to provide means in which people can support their family, the economics of it. Because when the economics is not there, then you have a breakdown of the family. Because if a woman, whether she's a single woman or a widow, if she cannot provide for her household, then you invite things in that shouldn't be in. If the man cannot provide for his family, then of course the instability becomes there, where maybe his female children may have to then go out and behave, or get involved with people who will exploit them. So so it's the government's duty to provide the economy for the society, to make sure there are means for people to make a fair wage in a society. And then, of course, those things provide stability, economic stability for a family.
All right, Kau, anything to add?
I don't have anything to add to that. I think that was very well said, and I'm in complete excuse me, someone's disturbing. I'm in complete agreement with everything she said.
Okay. All right.
eloquently too.
So let's move on with assertiveness and boundary settings. I think sometimes these two words, when we mean exhibit them, they're looked at as being rude. And you know who you think you are. When you're assertive, you can speak out, you can say how you feel and how you think. Let's look at that from a young woman's perspective, so that we encourage them to be assertive and to set boundaries and not feel, how can they not feel um, demoralized when they're assertive and they set boundaries on issues. It can be any one of you can take a shot at that.
Go ahead, Sissy.
No, no, go ahead. I'll follow.
So the thing, I have difficulty talking about these topics because I don't really see how your reproductive organs are supposed to determine your personality and all these other kind of things. So, I understand that majority of people that I interact with have been groomed to think that there's some kind of link between your intellect and your reproductive organs, or your ability to make decisions and your reproductive organs, or your brilliance and your reproductive organs. It's not true. It just simply is not true. It's two completely different things. So my concern has just always been that we strive to change the narrative as we become more successful as women, and we're able to kind of overcome the stereotypical oppressive roles that have been set aside for us. One of my favorite male quotes from men is from Thomas Sankara, which is, "Women hold up half the sky." And when he liberated Burkina Faso, he focused on the women, on liberating the women of Burkina Faso. The message being that if we do not educate the women, if we do not lift the women up, we're only going to be half as strong as we should be.
Yes.
But the other half of our existence, of our strength, of our advancement cannot be oppressed and we advance. It's impossible. Sankara wasn't speaking from some Western ideology. He wasn't speaking from some European influence, because Europeans are very patriarchal. Sankara was speaking from traditional African understanding of the world, nature. We were talking about the statistics of the gender ratio. It is balanced. And equality and balance does not mean sameness. When there's a balance, it doesn't mean that everybody is the same. It means that you're equally yoked in your strengths. So the same way, I don't want to suppress my husband's energy and his strength and his courage and his ability to do countless things that I cannot do. I quit to yield to him when he's able to do things that I cannot do. And he, at the same time, yields to me when I can do things that he cannot do. But there is that balance we bring to the table that makes us stronger. Where I'm weak, he has strength. And vice versa. But you cannot partner with someone. There's this whole thing where people say, oh, the Black man is the king. You got to treat your man like a king. Yes, of course. But the counterpart to a king is not a subordinate slave. It's a queen.
I like that.
Right? The counterpart to a king is not a slave. It's a queen. So if you're a king, why do you desire to partner with a pet? Why do you desire to partner with someone or something that you think is inferior to yourself? It just simply does not work that way. And I think for me, I've just been very blessed that I have partnered with someone that sees the world the way I do.
That's good. That's
and
good.
that's a blessing, because besides him being my husband, that's my best friend, right? And we got goofy together and stuff or whatever. And he thinks I'm funny. He thinks I'm smart and tells me that all the time. Laughs at my bad jokes. And gets annoyed when I get obsessed about like doing politics, and he just said, "Okay, let's talk about something else." But at the end of the day, you have to let human beings be human beings and stop attributing every aspect of their life to the genitalia. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Enid-Mai.
I was reading the question that says there is a difference between being assertive and being rude. I mean, there's a fine line. My daughter will always say, "Oh my God!" When my mother entered the school, everybody just like, "Oh my God, now your mother is here." Because there were two things I did. I came there with all my confidence, and I was assertive in what it is that I demanded from them. I wasn't rude. I kept my voice low and my body relaxed so people cannot be threatened. But here's the thing though, as a professional Black woman in these United States, there's a common thing of Black women are aggressive and white women are assertive. Now, that is again another way
Stereotypical, yeah.
to box people in. Yes, most women of color talk with their hands and we move our body. But come on now, we've been around long enough moving our hands and move our body for you to know that we ain't gonna be doing nothing to you.
We ain't taking it.
Yeah, that's enough. You see, but the thing is, that's enough of the pie to go around. Being assertive means that you are confident in what it is that you know and who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And in a mutual relationship, as Kau said, that flourishes, we all know when to step forward and when to step back. I know when my husband idea is better than mine. So I have relinquished and say yes. And he listens when I speak. But also, I like Kau is fortunate enough to be married to a man who actually thinks I'm brilliant and respects me and loves me. But most of all, he supports me.
Yes.
He allows me to be me and support me in everything that I do. So that also adds a little bit more to that confidence that I have to be assertive, to go out there and conquer the world. But it also gives me a safe space when I don't want to be Miss Manager or Miss whatever, and I just want to relax. He provides that safe space. I'm not going to hear or anything, everything. And when I fail, he also provides the safe space for me to fail, but know I can come home and cry if I need to cry, be
Mm-hmm,
mad if
mm-hmm.
I need to be mad, because I'm not going to hear from him and Miss Know It All, you. So we
Yeah.
as partners, we need to provide safe space for each other, but we also need to allow our whoever is in a position to take the lead on something, whether it's by expertise or having more information, let it be okay.
So let me just add to the question, Suzy, and I think from my perspective, I think there's a difference between assertive and being rude. I think the difference is in the definition of the word. and how it is expressed. I can speak my mind. I can be assertive on an issue. I can speak up if someone's doing wrong to me. That's being assertive because I'm speaking directly to a particular issue and I'm saying this is my opinion about it. I can be rude if there's aggressiveness and how I respond to you and how that is. Now the thing about it also with the assertive and being rude or being aggressive, I think it's subjective. I think when I'm speaking, I may not see myself as being rude or being aggressive. I may think that I'm being assertive. Someone may interpret my assertiveness as being aggressive because they're probably not used to how
Exactly.
to that level of
Mhm,
response.
mhm.
So it cannot be it's not an objective. There's no way it can be an objective answer because
Yeah,
we're all not assertive in the same way and we're all not aggressive either in the same way. But I think that level of assertiveness and being aggressive, I think there's a difference. There's a difference regardless of your reproductive organ, how he puts it, regardless of a male or a female. There are some male who can be assertive. It should not only be attributed to a woman. Some men can be assertive too. There's some quiet men who don't say anything, but all of a sudden they'll get up today and they'll say something like Coach King. I'm sure some this,
hmm
you know, they can give it to him. You'll be stern and you'll be focused, and you will tell her we're not doing this today. That's not
yeah,
being aggressive. That's speaking up and saying we're not gonna do this. And then immediately, no, we're gonna do that, and then she's gonna be rude, and you know what I mean. That's the
right.
devil.
It's not the same thing.
It,
It's
it,
not a clear
And
cut
and can
thing.
I say something? I mean, we talk about these gender roles, but you really just have to, the whole key for me is just be kind and
Yeah,
courteous and respectful. It really
yes.
yeah.
isn't that deep. You know what I
No.
mean? People that say,
I
"Oh, how can Mr. Family deal with Call?" He loves Call. You
There
know,
you go.
that's how he deals with
Yeah,
me. He loves me. You don't
but you
love
know,
me, so you can't stand my little quirks, but he can stand it because
he can
he
stand it.
chose me. He chose me in my quirks. So I'm not here for you to like.
Yes.
When I tell men this all the time when we're having, when we're on platforms together. I'm not here to treat you like my husband. That is not our interaction. We're colleagues
no.
here. You know,
Exactly.
and they don't understand the difference. I'm not your wife. I'm not your sister. I'm not your mama. I'm your colleague.
Mm-mm,
In this
Yes.
role, put all of that away. And this, if we're discussing politics or public policy, treat me like how you treating Mohammed, Salia, Dukle, how you treating everybody else. All of us the same here on
Yes.
this level that we're interacting. In my home, I do most of the cooking. My husband will cook, but he likes my cooking and I enjoy cooking. So that you'll
mm,
see me up in the middle of the night fixing and prepping for tomorrow's meal. I like that. Is it because of my genitals? No, it is because that's what I like to do and I'm good at it. You know, I nursed my children. He's not able to do that. He's not able to nurse the children. I nurse the children. He doesn't, he's not. So this whole thing about people always, wanting anytime they interact with a woman, why should not like my wife?
Yeah. She
God
can't be.
forbid I be
She ain't
like
your
your
wife.
wife. You know, you're
but
not like my husband either. You're not strong. So my husband's strength comes from his high self-esteem. That's what attracted me to him.
mhm.
Yes.
He has very high self-esteem. And one of
He
the
can
things
carry
that
his own.
he can carry his own, and he's so intelligent. So he doesn't have. I don't intimidate him. So this is also the kind of you are the person that if you want to attract a certain person, you have to be a certain person.
Mhm.
True. True. So true.
You can't just you can't be. I would not attract a man with low self-esteem.
No,
Even at the moment. Mhm.
And
but
go ahead. Go
also
ahead.
the use of, oh, that man is aggressive or that woman is aggressive, sometimes is used to control the situation.
Yes.
You see, people, all of a sudden, we may be in a conversation If the other person, regardless if it's man or woman, doesn't like what I'm saying, or what I'm saying is shining a light on their issues, then
Yes,
they point the finger. Oh, that person is aggressive. You know,
this is true.
yeah,
Oh, oh,
aggressive to be rude. No,
I'm
I'm not being.
laughing.
I'm
I'm
being
laughing.
aggressive. I'm being rude. I'm just telling you, you're a jackass.
right.
You
Or
know,
I'm correcting your disinformation. Maybe you're saying
Yes,
something that isn't true.
yes.
exactly.
You know?
You know,
Somebody, and I know this is the Cole's reaction. They say, "Love don't enter panel discussion."
Oh yeah. This literally happened to me. I was on a panel and I'm disagreeing with the panelists very professionally, not, and because he was so upset that I disagree with him, he said, "That is disrespectful. That is
mhm,
disrespectful." He kept repeating it. I said, "Well, what respect got to do with it? And I your
yeah,
daughter? That's
I
your
yeah,
know,
daughter
right?
in a professional exchange. I'm being very professional, which is respectful. But
Yeah.
his gauge for respect had left the professional zone and is now entering. This is a lay girl to me. You see, my son not equal age, and
mhm,
she not man. And so, if she disagree with me, that means she's being disrespectful. And so then I took my professionalism and put it behind me and had to deal with his issues,
Yes,
which
yes,
is
you
I'm not your
handle your
child,
issues.
I'm not your little
Yeah,
sister or your colleague.
yeah,
So we're going to take it on that level. And I don't care about your little feelings. Get them out of this conversation. And I had to say that to him
yeah.
just to
And
bring everything home. You're not going to sit on a panel with me and tell me I'm disrespecting you. I
because
don't,
I
I
don't
don't
agree with
operate.
you.
Yeah, this is not the standard, and this is not the exchange we're having. And I'm not going to let you put me in that role. And I
so,
told you, you carry those expectations they have for women that are very biased. And if that is what works in your home, keep it in your home and don't bring it outside. Call all of us are not living in your house. So
that's
when you're
it.
dealing with women outside your home, you deal with a human being first.
Yep. And I think that's so true. And like I said, and I want to stand on this. And I firmly believe that people misinterpret assertiveness with aggressiveness, and
Mm-hmm.
those two things, they are subjective to how you receive it. I
Yeah.
can be as assertive as possible, telling you exactly how I feel, and you can think because I'm outspoken and I'm assertive and I'm able to tell you exactly how I feel on the situation. It's like also you say, "Oh, but what's she bringing her rudeness to me for? You know, I'm older than you." No, I don't. I'm not at an older than level. I'm just telling you. So it's true. Based on how we react, people can misinterpret it from it being assertive. But it's
Yeah.
also, people should not be so judgmental on
Yeah.
other people based on their interpretation of what they think assertiveness should be. It's not based on your thinking. It's not based on your feeling. We understand that people don't receive things the same way, but there are a lot of women as a whole, and I think men. I hate to bring the man and woman thing, but I think sometimes men misinterpret women who are assertive. And
I
so
don't
the
know if
first
I
thing,
would use that word misinterpret.
okay,
I got a problem. Sorry, Glendy. That misinterpret that. They interpret it according to the way they view the
well,
world.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
That's they
Based on the
interpret it
interpretation, yes.
through their lenses. And
Yes.
that lens says that I am a man, I'm superior, and I'm this and I'm that and I'm the other. Or so therefore, don't embarrass me.
Yeah, which is
Don't
true.
you
But
question me.
but when I say misinterpreted, I'm saying to me. So I'm
Mhm.
thinking that I am being very assertive. I'm telling you how I feel about a situation, and then you're looking at me and say, "Why are you being rude? Why are you yelling? Why
Yeah.
are you doing this? Why are you saying that?" No, you're not understanding what I'm saying to you. I'm saying, and I think people need to be very careful, because sometimes it's one of the things as a woman, I think it's an insult when you're
Hmm.
trying to get your point across, and you all can chime in and say like what you think about it, and you just hear somebody say, "Why are you yelling?" No, I'm not
Hmm.
yelling. I'm trying to tell you something. I understand. One of the things that was easy for me to learn when I left Liberia was to understand people have a certain category that they put us in as Africans. It's
Not
like they
just
always,
black people.
yeah, like they're always talking loud.
Hmm.
I can't stand that when you say that. I may not be able to hear myself, but people always say that, and they don't think that it's an insult when they say that to people. Why are you yelling? It may not necessarily mean that you're yelling. That's just how you speak.
But yet
Yeah.
again, we go back to the thing that black women are aggressive, white women are assertive. They they the passion that we have when we speak about things that either we are very passionate or we believe in, they do the same thing. But that microaggression, when they say to you, why are you talking so loud? That's microaggression. That
Yes.
again, that's again is a way of trying to put you in your place.
Exactly.
It's microaggression. Oh, why are you talking so loud? I wasn't talking so loud when you were pissing me off and talking the crap. Yeah, when you were questioning my knowledge, when you were questioning my intelligence, I wasn't talking loud. But now that I call you out on your bullshit, that's different. Then all of a sudden, oh, I'm being loud and you're afraid of me. And then the tears start to come.
Yeah.
We're not going there.
So let's go into challenges and resilience. I'm of the firm belief that people think that black women have more challenges than white women. Let's talk about that first. Is
Oh,
that
yes.
is that true?
Oh,
I
I
don't
yes.
mean,
think it's
listen, that's not even a question. But
No.
I will say this. I will say this. European, I don't like to use the word black and white because human beings are not colors. They come from cultures and places. They have origins. Okay?
yes.
Europeans are very, very patriarchal. They evolved the thing of surnames because of their ownership of their women. So they have historically seen their women as their belongings, as their property. And because of this, they have now, through the conquest of the world, imposed this patriarchy along with Asians, Arabs, upon the rest of us. Africans are very matriarchal. So we have very much strong woman personalities through our history. We've always had a cultural balance in our traditional spiritual and religious practices. There's always a female side to the male side. In our traditional African world, men cannot exist without women and vice versa. So to bring it to Liberia, for the counterpart to Poro is Sande or Bondu. You have a balance. One is not more powerful than the other. In fact, you could slightly argue that the women's society is more powerful because the woman's soul can go to the man bush, the man's soul can't go to the woman bush. You understand? So I'm bringing all of this up to say it is not natural to African women to be suppressed. It's not in our nature. It's not in our culture. No matter how many generations we've been Muslim or Christian, there's always going to be the Enid Jones that's going to rise up and take her natural place as a leader, regardless of whatever shackles have been attempted to be placed upon her by society. This is what it is. African people have been degraded throughout the last 400 to 500 years by the transatlantic slave trade and all of the oppression that followed. We've been dehumanized. So you cannot compare our condition, African people in general, to that of women from the European descent, right? So there's that aspect. You've got the dehumanization of African people and even our specific roles as being used as physical mules throughout history. Why white women were put on some pedestal and protected. Also, by the way, in a dehumanizing way. Also in a dehumanizing way, at a pedestal that the white men can control. And African women have been used as physical mules and workhorses. You even see the African people, Nigerians and Ghanaians, and even some Liberians will post some African lady with a huge bucket on her head, a baby on her back, a cutlass, a hole in her hand, and say, "Hey, our sweet mother." That is ridiculous. Where so your own ideal woman is this enslaved person who's carrying the burden and the weight of society as if there's no men in Africa, and you're honoring this as some strong woman. This is oppression. The image of the suffering African woman. It's something that African people idealize, like it's some thing that we should all strive towards. Oh, look at a woman suffering with her children on her back and the cutlass in her hand, and sometimes to pull on a bicycle or motorbike, carrying some ridiculous load. They'll be clapping. You see all the comments on, "Hey, yeah, what sweet mother." I'm like, you enslave your mother, some kind of ideal thing, you know? So the bottom line is, to answer your question, sorry for the roundabout answer, but no, there's no comparison between the burden we carry as African women and that of the European woman. And even when we say we're allies in feminism, it is not the same.
No.
These women are fighting for the equal opportunity to oppress us.
Exactly.
We're fighting to liberate ourselves and our brothers.
Yes. And I always say the European woman, she loves her position. And to keep that position, she has to keep Donald Trump as president. So you see so we as Black women, and I tell people, yes, I'm an African woman, and that slightly makes me a little different from the American Black woman in that I see the world a little different than she sees the world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But as a professional woman, until I open my mouth,
Mm-hmm.
I'm categorized as a Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
And we see what has happened to Black women leadership in the last 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
They pulled the president of Harvard down. They pulled, it's a continuous
Struggle.
thing to destroy the Black woman's leadership, her ability to claim, because if you do so, you destabilize the Black family.
Yes.
If you pull the Black woman down, you stabilize the Black family. And I'm not going into anything as to why there are single mothers or whatever. I'm not going to go down that road. But there is a good amount of Black women who are head of households.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't give her equal pay, which then affect her children going to college and everything else. But so you destabilize the Black family. So the European woman and the Black woman, we have even the women issues. Yes, as a whole, we got women issues. We fight for women's rights, but we got way more issues to deal with than the European woman, because her general partner is the man who rules the game.
Mm-hmm.
So her place, yes, she may sympathize with us, but she won't protect her place. She likes her place.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets to a point where our struggles are not the same.
Yeah.
You know, the whole Me Too thing, they started from us.
Yeah.
Me Too came from Black women being trafficking. A woman who formed her nonprofit to stop Black women from being trafficked, from Black women being missing and nobody looking for them. That's why Me Too came. Until one day they decided they liked it and they hijacked it, and look what they now do with it. And now it's so mingled up that you don't even know
Get it?
what's
Yeah.
right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, who said this, who didn't say that, who not, everything else. So our struggle and that struggle, in
Not the
making,
same.
in
Okay.
much.
Let's talk about the resilience. I don't think there's anything more powerful than a Black resilient woman.
Oh
I don't think so. I don't think even when I'm saying the word, I think about me and my story and the things that I've been to. When a Black woman is resilient, I don't think there's anything to to compare it to with the struggle she's been to when she's over it and she's moved to the next phase of it. Let's talk about how important is or how would you view a Black resilience or resilience in a Black woman?
you know, when you want to see Black resilience, for example, look at the Liberian women who went through the war and had to make a whole life, a whole different life, whether their husbands were killed or they were separated. I look at my mother. Before the war, my mother was a vice president at ITC Bank. War happened. My mother came to America and she went back to teaching kindergarten. The last person my mother taught in kindergarten was my brother, who were at that point in his 40s. So to start over, this woman started completely over, taught kindergarten, transition to another, and of course, but then what? The war happened. She was what, in her 50s. But the ability of the Black woman, even when she loses it all, to come back is something that is generationally old. You know, during wars, when war happened and they killed the men, only the women were left. Her husband gone, people in the village gone. She had to come back. So it is, I think, regardless of of whatever, society has put the Black women countless of times in that position where she has to start over, or
Yeah.
she has to hold down the fort, because you know, the first people they take are the men. They take the men, whether they take them to war, whether they massacre them, whether they lynch them. I mean, we.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think we're resilient. I think we're forced into a situation where we survive.
Yeah.
I don't think that we're any more resilient than any other human beings. I think we just bear a greater burden. And I look around myself, I see women of my generation, they're not okay.
Oh no. Mm-hmm.
I see women of my generation, they're not okay. They're frantic. They have severe, post-traumatic stress disorder. They're abusing their children. They're abusing their friends. They're loud and discombobulated and confused and self-destructing. They're alcoholics. They're in these serial monogamous, very toxic relationships because they haven't healed. I think when I hear resilience, I hear healing. I hear somebody being okay. And that's, most of our people are not okay.
Yes. Yes.
Liberian women specifically
No,
I look at my peers. We
I
are
give
a
you that.
broken generation of women. I keep close to a lot of my friends
Mm.
who I've met over the years, and the trauma that women live with. I'm not going to say I'm not traumatized. We've all been through things. I've been given a different set of tools and coping mechanisms. And I also have a different way of seeing the worldview, so I'm quicker to let stuff go. But because most Liberian women, Black women, but specifically Liberian women, aren't trained to know that they're not responsible for everybody. They take on burdens that are not even theirs. Let's really talk about it. I have a very close friend of mine whose husband that she got married to in a church went and had a whole separate relationship. They moved to Liberia, had 2 children with his mistress, and she has the most suffering the most horrible emotional trauma.
That
People
that
are
that
telling her, people are telling her to accept these children that are the result of this man's betrayal. I'm the only person who told her, free yourself, Mom. You don't deserve it. They're not your responsibility. You're not a bad person because you want to be stepmom to children that a man made out of betrayal. It's not your job.
and
That's not.
and I
Just
I
let me just
follow.
say just one last thing. So what ends up happening to her and what she's going through now is pastors and aunties and all these people telling her to sit in her pain and accept it. And it's affecting her mindset. So now she's becoming, I wouldn't say abusive, but she's not able to take care of the 2 children that she has because she's got this overwhelming burden of pain that she go ahead.
But that burden of pain, I didn't want to go into that burden
Mhm,
of pain a while back. But that
mhm.
burden of pain, it's not now. You see, that's some of the, and I know they're gonna kill me, but I'm gonna say it. That's some of the screw upness of Liberian society.
Yes, ma. Talk it because it
That is some
shocked
of the
me.
screw upness of Liberian society. Because we as women, and I didn't want to say anything about it before, but
Mhm.
we as women, the first man in our lives is our father. It
Mhm.
is usually that man who lets us down because of
Mm.
exactly what it is that you're talking about.
Mm.
We grow up in a society that tells us you as a woman, you gotta scrap and you gotta fight, you gotta you gotta scrap to become the number one girl. Whereas they tell the men you are entitled to your pick of the little,
Can
of
you
the litter.
imagine?
You entitled to the pick of the litter. And look, I was telling my husband, I can still remember I was 12 years old and we went to EJ Raw. Now me, I know the boy had girlfriend because he was older than me and the girl he had were older than me. So what at EJ Raw, EJ Raw had this dark place.
Mhm.
And the auditorium, you had the big auditorium, then you had a darker section because I think it had an overpass. I passed by there, the young man called my name, I went there, we talked and everything else. Well, I know he had girlfriend. Until the next day, I discovered that the girl he unceremoniously dumped was also pregnant. She even know all we heard was then you yell shh, 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 because everybody talking.
Yeah.
Well, you know what happened? Next few months passed. I was passing by that same dark place. He was behind there with some another guy. So you grow up with the constant rock in your stomach because you don't know when your boyfriend will show up somewhere with different girl. Well, or even telling you, I mean, let's be honest. Well, I
True.
even telling you, you're
True.
not break up.
Mm.
You have no idea. You don't know when you may, mind you, he not get you key to his house, but you go use the key somebody else in the house. So
Right, because you're raised with men who are raised to be indisciplined
yes,
and be
he's
disloyal.
entitled. So I'm saying that to say where she finds herself is nothing new to our society, but not a failing to have the mechanism to say no. This is
Yeah,
not okay. This is not okay. I'm not supposed to allow this to happen just because my mother allowed my father 5 children in the house.
Actually,
I'm not so, yeah, I don't have to. You know,
yeah.
yeah,
I
you don't
told
have to do that.
one of my friends
Mhm.
constantly complains about her stepmother. The woman was not good to us. I said to her, I said, look, I don't think anybody should mistreat children. I
Exactly.
said, but put yourself in that woman's place. Your mother had 5 children for somebody's husband.
Mm.
Then she took the
They don't
part
want
her
to
dog.
hear.
Yeah, not one or 5.
5 children. How can that even be a mistake?
Then she took the 5 of y'all, dump y'all on a poor woman and came to America and was living a carefree life.
Yeah,
This woman had to look at her shame every day.
Yeah.
Her embarrassment, her brokenness.
Yeah.
and a
Every
lot of those women could not leave.
yes,
Enid-Mai, they couldn't leave. And that's the trauma. And we act like, we act like it's normal. That's not normal.
no,
And
it's
that
not.
goes back to self-esteem and also economic powerlessness. Some of it is
Yeah.
economic powerlessness,
Mhm.
right? Because if the man is the breadwinner, you have your children, then you now have to suspend your own happiness, your own joy, and you live a life of misery and
Yeah.
pretense.
And if you
And,
left,
and
he
this
kept the
is,
kid.
yeah, my friend just texted me, thank you for not mentioning my name.
Well,
But you know,
let me,
Come on, I swear.
but
But
you,
the,
but
the
I tell you something. She texts you and said, "Thank you for not mentioning her name," but that is because there's a feeling of shame.
yes,
And she has no
unfortunately.
cause to feel shame. I tell you something. Can't put my business out, but I had a situation where somebody who constantly have affairs, and Liberian
Mm.
people knew that. Liberian people knew that, but whenever they see me, they will ask for the particular person. So
Oh,
one day I got tired. I said, you know what? This time when anybody asks me, I will get an answer. So they asked me. I told I said, what you asking me for? You and I know that person in their particular state. You saw the person on TRC. So what the hell you asking me for them for?
thank you.
I decided I wasn't going to live in shame.
Yeah.
I was
mm.
going to stand in my truth
Yep,
because that shame was not my shame. I was an honest, hardworking, loyal woman. So that shame was not my shame. So we have to stop living in what we think is our shame. That's not
right.
her shame. She
Yes.
didn't go out and have children outside her marriage. No,
Yeah.
So
that's not her shame.
let me and I think I like that in part because To Magdalene's question, what can we do to make sure to make women and girls the visible force of resilience? And that is, I think, what
Mm.
we do is to be truthful,
And
living
mental
the truth.
healing.
Yes, heal from your aches, heal from your challenges. Be true to yourself. Don't. When I tell people when I literally say that I am happily divorced, I am happily divorced. And I don't take it for any joke when I say that. And I'm
I
happily
Mm.
can
divorced.
relate.
Yes, I am. And I love to say, and I celebrate every year on the day I got divorced. I'm happily divorced because I'm now able to live my truth.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I'm now able to be who I want to be. And I probably wasn't the perfect wife. Of course, I can be assertive, I can have a big mouth. I'm not gonna say that I was this perfect wife who couldn't talk. But from where I've come to where I am now, I am resilient in the things that I've overcome. And so I am so happy that I'm able to live my truth. And I think it's like you're saying, when people bring situations to you, it's probably not your place to say do this or do that, but it's your place to tell them the truth.
Right.
Tell somebody the truth. It's like, this is how I see it, this is my truth. You can decide on how you want to live, you can decide on what you want to do, but this is my truth. And I think if we are truthful to people, and we're able to tell them what the truth is regardless of where it falls,
Mhm.
then they can be able to heal from their tragedies and heal from their challenges. It's almost like going to Enid-Mai has been divorced before, and I go to her and I have problems in my marriage, and I'm talking to her, and Enid-Mai is also going through her pinch of stuff. But instead of Enid-Mai telling me, oh, it's I'm experiencing it, they say, oh my dear, just hang in there. But Enid-Mai got her shoe pinching oh. But it's okay, just hang in there, God dear, my dear. Marriage is not easy. No, you have to be truthful. You have to be truthful to people. You're not telling them to leave. You're not telling them to break up. You're telling them, I see what you're going through.
Yeah.
I'm experiencing the same thing. This is what you can probably do to help yourself and move on. But when we're not able to tell people the truth, then they can be ashamed of their own story. I am not ashamed of any bit of my story,
No.
because my story is me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
My story is me, and people get carried away because, and that's one of the things. And you believe it or not, when I decided to talk about my divorce after 3 years, a lot of people came to me. It's like I'm promoting divorce. A lot of people came to me. Why are you promoting divorce? Why are you encouraging people to divorce? And I said, if that's how you see it, unfortunately, I'm sorry, but I'm living my truth. There's no lie about it. I'm a divorced mother of 4 beautiful children, 3 adopted daughters, so 7 kids. So I am living my truth. So I'm not going to be ashamed of your connotation of the fact that I am a divorced woman. No,
So what
I
if you
am
were
Exactly.
happy
telling
where
them
I am.
what?
And so that's how
So
people, and
what?
so don't allow anybody to deter you from being resilient of overcoming
Hmm.
struggles.
So
Don't
what
allow
if
that.
you were telling them to get divorced? Look, I think I am the only Liberian woman who believes that if you truly are my friend and you see something that's damaging to me, please tell me.
Yes.
Exactly.
I think
Yeah.
I'm the only Liberian woman who believes
You're
that.
not the only one. You're not the only one. Because
Don't
trust me,
go
I
and
want to
say,
live in reality.
yeah,
Yes.
don't go and say, oh, you don't tell people that kind of thing. Or no, if you see something that's damaging and hurtful to me, tell me
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
that I can make an informed decision. Because
Yes.
I believe that the people who truly love me and tell me those things, I know them, and I know they're not out to hurt me. Yes, you have malicious people, fine, but malicious people will not can stay in front of me to tell me anything because they know my more plenty. So if they will not do that,
Yeah. So as we come to the end, we're almost been here. This was a beautiful, really beautiful show. I think We should do it again sometime on other topics. We should keep this up and do it and talk about other things. But I think this leads us into women empowerment. And I think it's just that simple. If I am truthful to people when they're going through their struggles, if I can redirect them, if I can tell them what the issues are, if I can tell them that I've been through this, and I think that because I've been through it and I've been able to go through these directions to be able to get here, I'm empowering you and I'm also encouraging you to tell you that you can do this also. So let's hear what you all have to say about women empowerment, because I think sometimes people think that we don't empower each other a lot. But
Mm.
I think that's not I don't think that's true. I think some people don't accept the empowerment you give them because they don't understand what you're saying and how you're telling it. But I don't think there's a woman out there who will just not empower other women. I maybe I'm maybe I'm giving people too much credit. But let's talk about women empowerment as we come to a close.
No, I mean, I think you're right. I think what happens is sometimes those cultural filters interfere with how people interpret you know that thing that like people that say, oh yeah, yeah, she got hospital, but she didn't want you to have hospital. That's why she telling you that thing for. She got this. She didn't want you to have that. That's why she telling you that thing for. Again, it is a lot. A lot of times, it is microaggression.
Yeah.
It's not because that person they do it to remain control and in power over the
Mhm.
situation. So, and because of that, some women don't hear what you're trying to say to them. But I think we need to continue to give women a, a safe space. Like for Kau and her friend, she's the safe space.
Mhm.
She's where she can come and release some of that burden until she can figure out what it is that she wants to do. So we need to give women safe space, places where they can go,
Yeah.
release that burden. And we
Yes.
also need to tell people that having a mental crisis is okay. Seeing a counselor is okay.
Hmm.
Whatever you need to heal is okay. There's nothing wrong with seeing a counselor. There's nothing wrong with seeing a psychiatrist. There's nothing wrong with admitting to your depression. All those things. Women need a safe space. When women have a safe space, when they have the support, they can gain empowerment if they don't have it already. But most of all, we need to keep drilling down into our girls, who they are and what they are and what they can be, whether it's our daughters or the young ladies in Liberia. But that mentorship capacity is lacking sometimes, and we need to all step up to the plate.
Cole?
I think I agree with everything that Enid said. I just want to say that in my personal life, I have found that most of my mentors, unfortunately, have been men. Most, not all. And a lot of times, as recently as my service to Liberia when I was working in the government, most of the people that conspired to thwart my efforts towards helping to correct systems in Liberia have been women.
Yeah.
Women who are older than I am, women who should have been mentoring me, were the antithesis of my pro Liberia struggle. They saw me maybe perhaps as a threat. Who is this, leg hair coming here trying to, So I struggled a lot with women being horrible to me, when they should not have been, without any cause. So
But that
when Glendy said, I don't think there's any woman that doesn't empower women, I'm so happy that you have had that experience, but my experience has not been like that. My experience has been with these very toxic, very hurt, traumatized Liberian women who project their trauma onto younger women.
But
And
that's what I was
so,
saying
so
earlier.
what I try to do is not be that person.
True. I think that's how I should have said it.
Yeah, I've tried to not be that person. I don't want to be those women that try to tear me down. So I'm trying to be for younger women, who my mother was to me, who Tata Miata Fambula is to me, who there's a lot of very positive women. I'm not saying I've never been mentored by women. I'm just saying most of my positive role models have been men, because I have, since childhood, the people who have done or attempted to do the most harm have been women. And it's unfortunate.
But
So
that's what I was saying to you. We are a group of women who have been taught that to be scrappy
yeah.
in everything, to be scrappy. We gotta tear her down. We got, oh yeah, that the man there. Okay, let us fight to get it. That's this thing here. Let us fight to get it. It's
Let me go
ingrained.
carry Chicha Pule to Ella Johnson to leave that lie on her. Let's pay Rodney Sear newspaper to lie on her. I mean, that's one thing, though. So it's very. So for me, I have learned to avoid women. I'm being honest.
No, you're right. You're right.
And I've always said I'm not going to be that woman who looks at a younger woman and tries to denigrate her or put her down, because it's just too easy. It seems like it was too easy. It was almost like, you going to work, you're doing something. Who she thinks she is? Especially in my early 30s, I'm like, bro, I had that little tiny waist, that little Coca-Cola body. Oh, they hated me. And what called me with that tight dress on? And I'm telling you serious, these are grown women, like my mother's crowd of women, just angry. And it's because of this whole burden that these women carry, the trauma.
Yes.
The trauma. So I strive to be the women that Glendy thinks we should be, which is to always consistently uplift, especially our younger sisters that are just coming up after us, and try to positively mentor them.
Yes.
I'm so incredibly proud of Kula Fofana. I'm so incredibly proud of her. I don't know a lot of the other young women that have recently been empowered, but Kula is somebody that I have a lot of regard for. I'm at least 10 years older than her, so I consider her a much younger sister, somebody I can mentor, and I'm very proud of her. But that's the kind of energy we should be putting around our younger sisters that are coming up, encouraging them.
Yeah.
And I really, Glendy, I want to tell you, to your face today, you are one of the most positive people I have ever seen in my life. And the love that you give to your country is the love you give to its citizens. You are loving, nurturing, inspiration. And what you do to market positivity around the Liberian narrative is commendable. And you should be publicly recognized.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, Ma, I'm telling you the truth today. You should be publicly recognized.
Oh my goodness.
For this energy that you bring.
Yeah.
I see her promoting young women. I see her promoting young men, old women. It doesn't matter. You do something beautiful and you're Liberian, Glendy will shine light on you. And that is just amazing. So I wanted to tell you that today, since I'm on your platform.
Oh my God.
And that's the reason I agree to come on your platform too. Because you won't see me Anywhere except FOL, right?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
it's not that I haven't been invited anywhere else. I'm usually making up an excuse for why I can't do people's shows. But I'm
Exactly.
here because of your energy.
Thank you.
And I
Yeah.
thought
And
it was a great opportunity. Yeah.
she
Thank you.
provides a safe space to have a respectful um, discussion, you
Yes.
know. But I must say, I have been blessed. I have a group of women I've known since kindergarten in
Oh,
Convent. There are 10 of us. Yeah, a couple of them are my first cousins, but that is a safe space. Those women are women who we've held each other up, we've cried, we've laughed, we've danced and all. But everybody don't have that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody don't have that. And we need to make more space for young women.
Yes.
So of course I have to shine a light on my husband
I see his comment. I
and
was going
all
to
the
go
good
to it.
things he's doing, mentoring the young people in
Yes.
Liberia.
Yes.
And whenever I can, I come and talk to the women. But
I love it.
Coach King is doing his thing.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Coach King. I want us to. I mean, there's still a few more things that we haven't talked about, but I want us to commit to. I want to ask the two of you to commit to the last Thursday in March, and if we're not done, we can commit to the last Thursday in April. I want us to be able to. So Enid-Mai did a beautiful job to help narrow some things down about women and self-development, and we have been able, out of all of these things that were listed, I think we had a total of 8 of them. 2 we've talked about today, and 2 we just added 2 extra. But these are things that I think we should still talk about: societal norms and expectations, marriage, family, and community influence, migration and hybrid identities. I think we talk a little bit, but not much. Young girls and self-development, and then education and representation. So if you all are available, March 28th will be the last Thursday. Check your
That's
schedule.
a long weekend, baby. You can't do that. Too much is going on that weekend.
So
Ask the
whenever you
comment.
can, if we can't do
And
it
the
March,
comment.
we can find, check your schedule and let me know when, so that we
Yeah.
can be able. I think from the interactions of the guests here, I think this was a good discussion to start talking about.
Yeah.
To start mentoring people, but also helping ourselves to heal as we spread the love to others, so that others can be able to heal also. Cole, you've cut me off, guys. One thing I don't like, I don't like compliments, but I'll say thank you anyway. I always tell people, don't tell me thank you. I don't, and because I think one of the reasons why I say that is because I don't do it for thanks. I
Yeah.
do it because I feel it should be done. And
And you
that's why
enjoy it. You
I
enjoy it.
try, and you know me now.
You
You
enjoy
know
it.
me. I love it. I wake up with it. I love doing what I do. I mean,
Beautiful.
I'm telling you, I'm at the peak of my life. Everything I'm
Mhm.
doing in my life right now with my children and their successes. My mother is still alive. My own personal life is like, I am happy. I'm so happy and content. But I want to say thank you to 2 beautiful women in our Liberian community, our society, who inspire me. I love Enid-Mai. Oh my gosh, she can
Yeah.
tell it like it is, and so can Cole. But some closing comments from the 2 of you before we go. And we were planning, we will look at your schedule. Let me know when you're open, and so that we can continue this conversation. And if there are other women on here watching, please reach out to me. We can add you to this, so that it can be a community discussion. It can just be, we can dedicate a time on this show, on this platform, to maybe once a month or once every other month, where we bring women together to talk about women issue. I'm planning to talk to Coach King. I know you're watching. I have another male gentleman that I've spoken with. I'm going to create a chat soon, so that the 3 of us can talk, because we also want to be able to reach out to men, and to understand. When you look at, I watch Coach King talking about a website. I want farming right now. All right, so let's get some closing comments from you, Enid-Mai, and then Kau, and then we'll call it a night. So, ladies, if you're out there and you want to join us when we do our every other month or whenever we have the time, Enid-Mai, Kau, and I to talk about women issues, just send me a text message. We'll add you to that so that we can be able to expand this. It's not just us. We don't know everything, but we want to be able to reach our community to see how we can be able to help one another. Enid-Mai, closing comments?
As usual, it was a pleasure talking to you, Glendy and Kau. For the first time, we finally got together. And
Yes.
it was fantastic. Talking to you, I admire you a whole lot. I watch you, I listen to you, and everything else. But most of all, I think there was a very good discussion. This is not here to male bash or to Liberian
Right.
bash. This is really here to talk about the issues that we face.
Right.
I champion Black women. I am a supporter of Black women, and I champion Black women, whether it's professionally or socially. I love myself some sister. So, sisterhood is my thing. Let's continue the discussion.
All right,
Absolutely.
Kau?
Yes, just to add to what Enid-Mai said, I think that the best way to close this is whenever I get passionate about talking about, the patriarchy and how some men and how society has created this monster image of manhood, people will come on to, oh, why do you hate men? And I always say, me hate men? You don't love men more than I do. I tell you, you do not love men more than there's no man out here that loves men more than I do. This is not about hating men. This is about loving men. This is about wanting our life partners, the other half of our yoke, to be a healthy and balanced contribution to what we have to offer as well. We want our brothers, our fathers, our sons to be good men to the women in their lives. And we want to be good women to the men in our lives. And in order to do that, we have to have an honest discussion about the things that are wrong. So we're doing this out of love. I'm not one of these feminists is, oh, the men in the world should disappear. No, this world would be a horrible place without men. So that's how I wanted to close. I wanted everyone to know that this is, I think, with anything, we're empowering men.
Thank you.
So you're welcome.
Thank you, Kau, and thank you, Enid. Enid-Mai, thank you for everything. We will be in touch to continue this conversation. I think it's something that we've stumbled upon, and I think we should be able to extend our arms whenever you're available next. Let's schedule the time so we can continue this conversation, because we can even this conversation is empowering others, hearing others talk about it. So I want to thank you all so much for being here this evening. Have a pleasant evening, the two happily married women. Thank you. And there you guys have it. Thank you for watching. We talked a lot tonight. We learned a lot. But I think this makes me happy. That we can come and talk about some of the things we've been through. We can talk about how to empower others. We're not going to stop here. We're going to continue the conversation with Enid-Mai and Kau. Every month or every other month, we'll bring a group of women together to talk about women issues. And like I said, stay tuned. We're planning to talk to Coach King and a young man to be able to talk about some of the struggles that men go through and some of the things and what's gentlemanly. How a man should behave, how a man should treat a woman, just how responsible and respectable a man should be. I'm a woman, but that's something that's interesting to me because I have young sons and I want them to be able to treat their wives pretty good and treat me and their mother good. But thank you for watching. We appreciate you. We'll see you next week, Thursday. On next week, Thursday, our guest will be talking to us from Tanzania. We're extending this platform. This platform is not only for one group of people. We're talking about a young entrepreneur woman that I've come in contact with. She lives in Tanzania. She's from Tanzania. We will be talking to her about her business, what she's doing, her products. We want to be able to expose her to the community. She has some organic things that she's doing. I am a direct beneficiary of her products, and they're authentic products that I get from her, and I wanted to be able to just have a talk. I'm excited that I'll be able to talk to somebody from Tanzania, and our conversation is not going to stop on an interview. We're trying to see how we can collaborate together in her country and what we can do there to be able to empower young people. So thank you folks for watching. From me to you, we hope this show tonight has opened up the dialogue to talk about issues of women. If you're out there and you want to be a part of the conversation, just send me a text when we come back here next to talk about women issues. We will certainly ensure that you're on the platform to be a guest. So thank you, folks. Thank you for everything. Have a pleasant evening. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you out there in Facebook land. Love you all. Bye-bye.